My phone wouldn't stop buzzing. I sat in the kitchen of my rental house, bare walls, second-hand table, single chair, and watched the screen light up like a slot machine paying out. Mira's name flashed again and again. 15 messages in the last hour, 23 since yesterday morning. Calder, we need to talk. I miss you so much. Can we please just have a real conversation? I've been thinking about us. I set the phone face down and took a sip of coffee. Cold. I'd made it 3 hours ago and forgotten about it while I worked through Ruth's latest project update. The cup had a crack along the rim that I kept meaning to replace, but never did. Funny how you get used to things that cut you. The buzzing started again. A year ago, when I told Mira I was taking the job in Millbrook, she'd laughed. Not a pleasant laugh, the kind that lets you know exactly how stupid she thinks you are. I'm not moving to that boring small town for your job, she'd said. We were standing in our apartment. Her apartment, technically, since her name was on the lease. She had her arms crossed, hip cocked, wearing that expression she reserved for waiters who got her order wrong. You can't seriously expect me to give up everything I've built here. I'd looked around the apartment. Expensive furniture, expensive art, expensive everything, most of it purchased with credit cards that had both our names on them. Her career consisted of consulting gigs that dried up every few months and yoga instructor certifications she never finished. I understand, I'd said. She'd blinked, clearly expecting a fight. You understand? Yeah. You don't want to move. I get it. So you're not taking the job? No, I'm taking it. I just understand why you don't want to come. I'd packed my things that weekend. 1 suitcase, 1 box of books, 1 suit bag. She'd watched me load my car with this confused expression, like she couldn't figure out what script we were following anymore. You're really leaving? She'd asked. I'll come back on weekends when I can, I'd said. We'll figure it out. But I didn't come back often, and she never visited. Not once in 12 months. Until now. My phone buzzed again. I flipped it over. Calder, I know you're busy, but this is important. I love you. I want to make this work. Can I come visit this weekend? I stared at that message for a long time. The timing was interesting. Extremely interesting. 3 days ago, my company's payroll department had sent an updated benefits package to my email. Apparently, they'd also sent a copy to an old shared email account Mira and I had set up when we first got engaged, one of those couple addresses we'd created and then forgotten about. I hadn't thought about it in months, but Mira had access to it. And buried in that benefits package, on page 7 of a 12-page PDF, was a compensation summary. $400,000. Base salary plus performance bonuses, plus relocation, incentives, plus project completion, rewards. Ruth didn't play games with compensation. She paid for results, and she paid well. I'd kept that information quiet. Didn't post about it. Didn't brag. In Millbrook, I was just another guy who worked at the industrial site on the north edge of town. Most people here couldn't tell you what I did, and I liked it that way. But now Mira knew. And suddenly, that boring small town didn't sound so boring anymore. I picked up my phone and scrolled through the messages again. They'd started exactly 4 hours after that benefits email went out. Not the next day. Not a week later. 4 hours. It's like watching someone fall in love with an ATM, I muttered. I typed a response. We can talk next week. I'm in the middle of something at work. Her reply came back in under 30 seconds. Next week? Calder, I really need to see you. This weekend, please. Too fast, too desperate, too transparent. I set the phone down and stood up. My back cracked in 3 places, the gift of spending 12 hours a day managing logistics for Ruth's site expansion. We were building something significant out here. A distribution hub that would service 7 states. The kind of project that required someone who could handle suppliers, contractors, safety protocols, and local government relations without starting fires. Ruth had picked me because I was boring. Steady. The guy who showed up early, stayed late, and didn't create drama. In corporate America, boring is a superpower. My phone buzzed again. This time, it wasn't Mira. Unknown number. Heard you're doing well for yourself out there in nowhere. Congrats. I read it twice. The tone was familiar, almost friendly. But the message itself felt wrong, like someone reaching across a line they shouldn't know exists. I didn't respond. Instead, I grabbed my jacket and keys. I needed to pick up a work lamp from Hollis Wren's shop before it closed. Hollis ran an antique and consignment place on Main Street, the kind of store that seemed to survive on dust and nostalgia. But everyone in Millbrook went there eventually. Hollis had a way of knowing what you needed before you asked. The drive took 4 minutes. Millbrook wasn't big enough for traffic. Hollis was behind the counter when I walked in, reading a paperback with yellowed pages. He looked up and smiled. Calder, right on time. Got that lamp you wanted. Thanks. He disappeared into the back room and returned with an old-fashioned desk lamp, the kind with a green glass shade and a brass base that weighed about 15 pounds. This'll last you another 50 years, Hollis said, setting it on the counter. They built things to survive back then. I pulled out my wallet. Wish they still did. Most things fall apart the moment you stop paying attention. He wrapped the lamp in newspaper with the care of someone packaging explosives. People, especially. I handed him cash. He made change slowly, deliberately, like he was buying time. You settling in okay? He asked. Yeah, it's quiet. Quiet's good. He paused, studying me with the intensity of someone reading a map. Though I suppose quiet can be misleading too. People always show you who they are when they think nobody's watching. I took the lamp. I'll keep that in mind. You do that. I was almost out the door when he spoke again. Your fiancé still planning to visit sometime? I stopped, turned. What? Hollis smiled, innocent as sunrise. Thought I saw her in town a few months back. Around October? Could have been someone else. People look alike sometimes. She's never been here, I said carefully. Huh. Hollis tilted his head. Must have been mistaken then. My apologies. But he didn't look apologetic. He looked knowing. I carried the lamp to my car and set it in the passenger seat. My hands were steady, but my mind was racing. October. Mira had been visiting her sister in October. I remembered because she'd canceled one of my rare weekend visits home. I pulled out my phone and opened our shared photo album, one of those automatic cloud things that syncs pictures between devices. We'd set it up during the engagement, back when we still did things like that. I scrolled backward. September, August, July, there, October, 14th. A photo I'd never seen before. A restaurant table, 2 wine glasses, dim lighting. And in the corner of the frame, just barely visible, a work badge on the table. I zoomed in. The badge was flipped face down, but I could make out the company logo on the back. Tremont Industries, one of our major vendors, and I could see the edge of a name. Galen. I sat in my car for a long time, staring at that photo. The streetlights came on. The sky turned purple, then black. My coffee cup sat empty in the holder, and my phone kept buzzing with more messages from Mira. But I didn't read them. I was too busy counting the lies, counting the distances, counting the ways I'd been managed instead of loved. And I realized something that settled over me like frost. I wasn't abandoned. I was being played. I didn't sleep that night. Instead, I sat at my cracked kitchen table with a yellow legal pad and started writing. Dates, times, messages, everything I could remember about the last year, laid out in chronological order like evidence at a trial I hadn't been invited to. October 14th. Mira visits sister. Photo in shared album shows Millbrook restaurant. November 2nd, weekend visit home canceled. Her excuse, caught up with work project. November 18th, shared credit card charge, hotel, this town. I was traveling for Ruth that weekend. I kept going. The legal pad filled up. My handwriting got smaller, tighter, angrier. When the sun came up, I made fresh coffee and took a shower. Then I went to work like nothing had changed. Ruth found me in the temporary site office around 9, reviewing contractor schedules. "You look terrible," she said. "Thanks." "I mean it. You sick?" "Just tired." She studied me for a moment. Ruth had a way of looking at you that made lying feel pointless. Then nodded. "We've got the Phillips inspection Thursday. I need you sharp." "I will be." "Good. Because if we pass this one, we're golden. If we don't, we're delayed another 6 weeks, and I have to explain to corporate why I hired someone who can't manage a calendar." "Understood." She left. I went back to my schedules, but my mind kept drifting to that photo, that badge, that name. Galen. During lunch, I did what any reasonable person would do. I looked him up. Galen Pryce, senior sales executive at Tremont Industries, 36, Stanford MBA. His company profile photo showed a guy with perfect teeth and expensive hair, the kind of person who calls everyone buddy and makes it sound like a threat. Tremont had been bidding on several of our subcontracts. I'd met their team twice. I couldn't remember Galen specifically, sales guys all blurred together after a while, but I recognized the type, confident, smooth, the kind of person who believed his own pitch. I closed the browser and opened my messages. Mira had sent 4 more overnight. "Calder, please don't shut me out. I know I haven't been the best partner this year. I want to fix this. Can I please come visit? I miss you." I typed, "Sure, this weekend works." Her response was immediate. "Really? Oh, thank God. I'll drive up Saturday morning. I love you so much." I put the phone away and felt nothing. No anger, no sadness, just a cold, clinical curiosity about what would happen next. That afternoon, Ruth called me into her office. "We've got a problem," she said, sliding a folder across her desk. "Tremont's bid on the electrical subcontract doesn't match their specs. Numbers are off by about 15%. I opened the folder. She was right. The pricing didn't align with the materials list. "Could be an honest mistake," I said. "Could be, but I don't like discrepancies, especially not from vendors I'm considering for a 2-year contract." She leaned back in her chair. "Do me a favor. Request a clarification meeting. I want their senior team here to walk us through this." "You want them on site?" "I want to see their faces when they explain the numbers. Paper lies, people don't." I nodded. "I'll set it up." "Good. And Calder?" She fixed me with that look again. "Whatever's going on with you, handle it. I need you focused." "I am focused." "No, you're distracted. There's a difference." She wasn't wrong. That night I started documenting. Not obsessively, just methodically. Screenshots of messages, copies of shared financial statements, notes about dates and locations. I created a simple folder on my laptop and labeled it Timeline. It felt cold, surgical, exactly right. Around 9, my phone rang. Unknown number. I answered. "Calder Voss?" The voice was male, smooth, with the practiced warmth of someone used to getting what they wanted. "Who's this?" "Galen Pryce. We met briefly during the Tremont bid presentation last month. Listen, I heard through the grapevine that Ruth wants a clarification meeting. I wanted to reach out personally, maybe smooth things over before we do anything formal." I said nothing. "The thing is," Galen continued, "I think there might be some confusion on the specs. Totally our fault. I'd love to grab coffee, just you and me, and walk through it. Keep it simple. No need to involve the whole dog and pony show if we can resolve it directly." "Ruth wants the meeting," I said. "I get that. But between you and me, these formal sit-downs can get messy. Politics, you know? I'm just trying to keep everyone happy." "I'll let Ruth know you called." "Calder." I hung up. My hands were shaking. Not from fear. From the sudden crystalline understanding that this wasn't just about Mira. This wasn't just cheating. Galen wanted access. To the project. to the contracts, to Ruth's trust, and Mira was his way in. I opened my laptop and added a new line to the timeline. Galen attempts contact, bypass protocol, pressure. Then I did something I hadn't done in 5 years. I called my brother. Soren answered on the 4th ring. "This better be important." "It is." Silence. Then, "What happened?" "I need legal advice." More silence. Soren and I hadn't spoken since our father's estate settled 3 years ago. That conversation had ended with him calling me naive and me calling him mercenary. Neither of us had been wrong. "Are you in trouble?" he asked. "Not yet, but I might be soon." "Criminal or civil? Marital, financial, maybe professional?" "That's a hell of a combo." I heard him typing. "When can you talk? And I mean really talk, not this cryptic phone call nonsense." "Tomorrow night?" "Fine. Send me everything you have, documents, messages, dates. I want facts, not feelings." "Understood." "Calder?" "Yeah?" "Don't do anything stupid before we talk. No confrontations, no accusations, no heroics." "I won't." But I could hear the doubt in his silence before he hung up. Saturday morning arrived gray and cold. Mira texted at 8. "Leaving now, be there by noon." I cleaned the rental house. Not because I cared how it looked, but because I needed something to do with my hands. I vacuumed. I wiped counters. I organized the bookshelf. At 11:30 I drove to Hollis's shop. He looked up when I walked in, unsurprised. "Back so soon?" "I need information," I said. Hollis closed his book. "About?" "Galen Pryce." His expression didn't change, but something shifted in his eyes. Recognition. Calculation. "That's a specific name," he said carefully. "You mentioned seeing Mira in town. I think she was with him." Hollis stood up and walked to the window, hands in his pockets, looking out at Main Street like it might hold answers. "I don't trade in gossip," he said finally, "but I do pay attention. And I'll tell you this. That man's been through Millbrook a few times in the last 6 months, stays at the Bridgewater Inn, tips well, charms the staff, acts like he owns every room he walks into." "Has anyone mentioned him being with a woman?" "Susan at the front desk might have seen something, but you didn't hear that from me." "Thank you." "Calder?" Hollis turned to face me. "Whatever you're planning, make sure it's worth it. Revenge has a way of costing more than people expect." "I'm not looking for revenge," I said. "I'm looking for truth." "Those aren't as different as you think." Mira arrived at 12:15. I watched her park from the kitchen window. A new car, something expensive and foreign that she definitely couldn't afford on her income. She checked her makeup in the rearview mirror before getting out. I opened the door before she knocked. "Hey," she said, smiling bright enough to hurt. "God, I missed you." She hugged me. I let her. Her perfume was different, more expensive. "The place looks nice," she lied, stepping inside. "It's temporary." "Right, of course." She set her purse down and looked around like she was appraising real estate. "So, we need to talk." I figured. She sat on the couch, my only furniture besides the kitchen table and bed, and patted the cushion next to her. I sat in the kitchen chair instead. Her smile faltered. "Okay, I guess we're doing this the hard way." "Doing what?" "Calder, I know I've been distant. I know I haven't been fair to you. But I've been thinking, and I realize now that I made a mistake. I should have moved here with you. I should have supported your career." "Why the change of heart?" "Because I love you. Because I miss you. Because we're supposed to be building a life together." "And the fact that you just found out what I make has nothing to do with it?" She blinked. "What?" "The benefits package. The one payroll sent to our old shared email. You saw it." Her expression went carefully neutral. "I don't know what you're talking about." "Yes, you do." "Calder, you're being paranoid." "Am I?" I leaned forward. Because your sudden interest in moving here started exactly 4 hours after that email went out. I checked the timestamps. She stopped, recalculated. Okay. Yes, I saw the email, and yes, I was surprised by the amount. But that's not why I want to fix things. Then why? Because I realized what I was losing. Because watching you leave made me understand what you mean to me. Interesting timing? Why are you being like this? Her voice cracked, a performer hitting her mark. I'm trying to save our relationship and you're treating me like a criminal. I'm just asking questions. No, you're interrogating me. There's a difference. I stood up. I'm going to make coffee. You want some? Sure, thanks. While the coffee brewed, she wandered around the house. I heard her in the bedroom, opening drawers, looking around, assessing. When I came back with 2 mugs, she was holding a framed photo of us from the engagement. I'd shoved it in a closet months ago. She must have found it. We looked happy, she said softly. We did. Can we be again? I handed her a mug. That depends. On what? On whether you're willing to tell me the truth. Something flickered across her face, too quick to name. Fear, maybe, or calculation. I don't know what you want me to say, she said. I want you to tell me why you were in Millbrook in October. The mug trembled in her hands. Just slightly. Just enough. I wasn't. Yes, you were. I have a photo. That's impossible. And I want you to tell me about Galen Pryce. The mug slipped. Coffee splashed across the floor. She stared at me with something that looked like panic wearing a mask of confusion. I don't know who that is, she whispered. And that's when I knew for certain. Everything I suspected was true. She left an hour later, claiming she needed to clear her head. I watched her drive away with careful notes about the direction, the time, and the expression on her face, pale, tight, scared. Good. Sunday night, I sent Soren everything, bank statements, message screenshots, the photo from October, dates and locations where our stories didn't match, a timeline of Galen's calls and Tremont's bid irregularities. He called me at midnight. This is worse than you think, he said without preamble. How so? Galen Pryce isn't just some salesman having a fling. His company got flagged in a compliance review 2 years ago. Nothing stuck, but there were questions about entertainment expenses and conflicts of interest. He's one corporate investigation away from being unemployable. I sat up straighter. What kind of questions? The kind that suggest he was using personal relationships to influence purchasing decisions, gifts, trips, that sort of thing. Nothing provable enough for termination, but enough to put him on thin ice. So if he's doing it again, and if there's documentation, his career is over. More than that, depending on the amounts involved, we might be talking wire misrepresentation or compliance violations serious enough for criminal referral. I absorbed that. What do I do? Keep documenting. But here's the thing. You can't gather evidence illegally. No breaking into accounts. No hacking. No recording conversations without consent in Pennsylvania. You need to be squeaky clean, because if this goes legal, any tainted evidence poisons the whole case. I understand. Do you? Because most people in your situation want revenge, not justice, and revenge makes people stupid. I want both. Soren laughed, a dry, humorless sound. At least you're honest. Look, here's what we do. You continue your job normally. If Galen or Mira reach out, you stay polite but distant. You document every interaction, and you let me handle the legal infrastructure. What infrastructure? Protective measures, separation of assets, formal notices, maybe a forensic accountant if your shared finances are messy enough. We build a wall around you so that when this blows up, and it will blow up, you're protected. How long will that take? A few weeks? Maybe a month? Can you stay calm that long? I thought about Mira's face when I said Galen's name. I thought about the coffee spilling, the panic, the badly constructed lies. Yeah, I said. I can wait. Good. Because right now, you're the victim. The moment you go on offense without a plan, you become the villain, and villains lose in court. He hung up. I sat in the dark house, thinking about what he'd said. The moment you go on offense, you become the villain. Maybe I was okay with that. Monday morning, Ruth called the Tremont meeting. 5 days out. Wednesday afternoon at 2. Galen would be required to attend with his technical team. I sent the calendar invite professionally, copying all relevant parties. Galen's response came back within minutes. Looking forward to clarifying things. Tuesday, Mira sent me a long message. Calder, I'm sorry about Saturday. I panicked. You caught me off guard, and I didn't handle it well. But I need you to know that I've never done anything to hurt you. I love you. I've always loved you. Can we please try again? I promise I'll be honest about everything. I read it 3 times, analyzing the construction. The apology without admission, the promise of honesty in the future, which implicitly acknowledged dishonesty in the past. The plea for another chance, which suggested she knew she needed one. I responded, "Let's talk after the holidays. I need space." She called immediately. I didn't answer. She called again and again. Finally, she texted, "Fine, but I'm not giving up on us." Wednesday arrived cold and clear. The Tremont team showed up at 1:45. 3 people in suits, rolling briefcases behind them like armor. Galen led the group. He looked exactly like his photo. Expensive suit, expensive watch. That smile that probably closed deals but felt synthetic up close, like artificial sweetener. "Calder!" He extended his hand like we were old friends. Good to finally do this properly. I shook his hand. His grip was firm, performative. Conference rooms this way. Ruth was already seated, along with our project engineer and contracts administrator. Galen's team arranged themselves across the table like pieces on a chessboard. "Thanks for making time," Ruth said. "Let's dive in. Your bid pricing doesn't align with your technical specs. I need to understand why." Galen smiled. "Absolutely. I think there was a miscommunication during the estimation phase. They talked for 90 minutes. Numbers, specs, margins. Galen was smooth, pivoting between apology and expertise with practiced ease. His team backed him up with spreadsheets and revised projections. But I watched his eyes, and I saw what Ruth saw. He was performing, not explaining. "We'll review these new numbers," Ruth said finally. "But I'm going to be honest. I'm not comfortable with the inconsistencies. I need more time before making a decision." "Of course, we understand completely." Galen stood, collecting his materials. "We're committed to transparency." As they filed out, Galen lingered near me. "Hey, can we grab a quick word?" he asked quietly. "About?" "Just wanted to make sure there's no weirdness between us. I get the sense you're not thrilled with Tremont right now." "Ruth makes the decisions. I just coordinate." "Right, but you have her ear." He lowered his voice further. "Look, I know this business gets political. I just want to make sure we're on the same team here." I looked at him, really looked. At the expensive haircut and the confident posture and the way he assumed his charm was currency. "We're not on the same team," I said evenly. His smile thinned. "Excuse me?" "You're a vendor. I'm the client. We're never on the same team." "That's a pretty adversarial way to look at it." "That's a realistic way to look at it." He studied me for a long moment, and I watched his expression shift from friendly to appraising, like he was recalculating something. "Well," he said finally, "I hope we can still work together professionally." "That depends on whether your numbers make sense." "They will, trust me." "I don't." The smile disappeared completely. "That's unfortunate." "It's practical." He left without another word. Through the window, I watched him walk to his car, a Tesla, obviously, and sit behind the wheel for a full 5 minutes before driving away. Ruth appeared beside me. What did he say to you? She asked. Tried to smooth things over, make sure we're friends. Are you? No. Good, because my gut says something's off with that bid, and my gut's usually right. She paused. You okay? You look tense. I'm fine. You're a terrible liar, Calder. I know. That night, I sat in my rental house and thought about Galen's face, the way his expression changed when he realized charm wouldn't work, the way he'd assessed me like a problem to solve. My phone buzzed. Soren. Any movement? Me. Tremont meeting today. Galen tried to play friendly. Soren. Did you bite? Me. No, stayed professional. Soren. Good. Keep your distance. Let him think you're not a threat. Me. What if I am a threat? Soren. Then you're a quiet one, the dangerous kind. I set the phone down and opened my laptop. The timeline folder now had 23 documents, bank statements, credit card charges, location data from shared apps, message threads where Mira's stories contradicted themselves. I added a new document. Title: Galen Pryce, Professional Background. I wasn't just building a case anymore. I was building a weapon, and Soren was right. The dangerous threats are the quiet ones, the ones that don't announce themselves until it's too late to dodge. Friday morning, Mira texted, I know you said you need space, but can I call you? Please? It's important. I didn't respond. She texted again 2 hours later. Calder, I'm serious. We need to talk about us, about our future. Our future. Interesting choice of words, because as far as I could tell, she didn't want a future. She wanted access to mine. That afternoon, Ruth stopped by my temporary office with coffee. Real coffee, from the good place downtown, not the burnt sludge from the site kitchen. You've been distracted all week, she said, setting the cup on my desk. What's going on? Personal stuff. The fiancé? I looked up, surprised. Ruth never asked personal questions. How'd you know? You stopped wearing the ring last month, and you have that look people get when relationships fall apart, like you're performing normalcy but the script keeps changing. She sat down across from me. None of my business, obviously. But for what it's worth, I've been there, twice. Both times I waited too long to walk away. What changed? I stopped trying to save something that didn't want to be saved. She sipped her coffee. Look, I don't know your situation, but I do know you're good at your job because you see things clearly. You don't pretend problems are smaller than they are. So whatever this is, trust that same instinct. What if trusting that instinct means burning everything down? Then you make sure the fire doesn't spread somewhere it shouldn't. She stood up. Phillips inspections Monday. After that, we're clear for the next phase. Once that happens, you take a few days off. Figure out your personal mess. Come back with your head straight. Thanks, Ruth. Don't thank me. Just don't let whatever this is wreck the best site manager I've had in 10 years. She left. I sat there thinking about fires and instincts and the difference between saving something and letting it finish dying. Saturday night, my doorbell rang. I looked through the peephole and saw Mira standing on my porch, arms wrapped around herself against the cold, eyes red. I opened the door. What are you doing here? You wouldn't answer my calls. Her voice was hoarse. I had to see you. I told you I needed space. I know, but Calder, please, can I come in? Just for a few minutes. Against every instinct that told me this was a mistake, I stepped aside. She walked in and immediately started talking, fast, pressured, like she'd rehearsed this on the drive. I know you're angry. I know you think I'm here because of money. But that's not true. I mean, yes, seeing what you make surprised me, but it also made me realize how much you've sacrificed and how little I've appreciated it, and I can't lose you, Calder. I can't. Who's Galen Pryce? She froze. I told you. I don't know. Stop lying. I'm not Mira. I said her name quietly, and something about the tone made her stop. I know you were in Millbrook in October. I know you've been here multiple times. I know about the hotel charges on our shared card. I know you're lying. So please stop insulting both of us and just tell me the truth." She stared at me, and I watched her calculations flicker across her face like mental arithmetic. What could she admit? What could she deny? How much did I actually know versus suspect? Finally, she whispered, "I was lonely." That's not an answer. I met him at a conference. We started talking. It was nice to feel wanted. How long? Calder. How long have you been having an affair with Galen Pryce? The word hung in the air between us like smoke. 7 months, she said finally. 7 months. While I was working 80-hour weeks building something real, she was building something else entirely. Does he know about the money? I asked. What? Does Galen know what I make? She looked away. I don't know. Maybe. Did you tell him? I might have mentioned it. I don't remember. And what else did you mention? My project? My vendors? Ruth? Why are you asking me this? Because Galen's company is bidding on our contracts, and I want to know if you've been feeding him information. Her face went pale. No. Absolutely not. I would never. You'd never cheat on me either, right? Until you did. That's not fair. None of this is fair, Mira, that's the point. She started crying. Real tears this time, not the performative kind. But I felt nothing. Just cold clarity and the distant curiosity of someone watching a chess game where they already knew the outcome. I'm sorry, she sobbed. I'm so sorry. Please, Calder. Please give me another chance. No. What? I said no. It's over. We're done. You can't mean that. I do. She stood up, anger flashing through the tears. Fine. Then I hope you're happy with your boring life in your boring town with your boring job. 400,000 a year isn't boring. She flinched. That's what this is really about, isn't it? I continued. You don't want me. You want what I have. And when you realized what that was, you came running back, but it's too late. So what now? You're just going to throw away 3 years? No, you did that already. I'm just acknowledging it. She grabbed her purse and coat, movements jerky with rage. At the door, she turned back. You'll regret this, she said. I doubt it. Galen treats me better than you ever did. Then you should be with him. Problem solved. She slammed the door hard enough to rattle the frame. I stood in the empty house, listening to her car start and drive away, and felt something settle into place. Not satisfaction, not vindication, just the cold, methodical understanding that this wasn't over. It was just beginning. Monday's inspection went perfectly. Phillips signed off on everything. Ruth took the team out for lunch at the diner downtown. Celebration drinks, congratulations all around, talk of bonuses and Phase 2 timelines. I smiled and nodded and felt nothing. That night, Soren called. I filed the separation paperwork, he said. It'll take a few weeks to process, but legally you're protected. Shared accounts are frozen pending division. Credit lines are separated. She can't access anything new. What happens next? She gets served. She has 30 days to respond. We enter mediation. Then we see what she wants. What if she fights it? She can try, but unless she has grounds for spousal support, which she doesn't given the circumstances, this should be clean. Pennsylvania's a no-fault state, but we have documentation of material misconduct. That matters for asset division. Good. Calder? There's something else. I waited. I did some digging on Galen Pryce. He's in deeper trouble than I thought. Tremont's board started an internal review last month. Something about expense reports and vendor relationships. They're quiet about it, but word's leaking. How quiet? Quiet enough that he doesn't know he's being investigated. Yet. What happens if he finds out? He'll panic. Do something stupid. Try to cover tracks or shift blame. An idea crystallized. What if someone helped that process along? Soren went quiet for a moment. What are you thinking? Tremont's been bidding on our contracts. If there's even a hint of impropriety, entertainment expenses, conflicts of interest, anything that suggests he's using personal relationships to influence decisions, Ruth would have to report it. Not because she wants to, because she's legally required to. You're talking about blowing up his career. I'm talking about following proper channels. That's semantics. Maybe, but it's also justice. Soren sighed. Be very careful, Calder, because the moment you trigger a formal complaint, you can't control where it goes. These things have a way of spreading. I'm counting on it. Wednesday morning, I requested a meeting with Ruth. Private, off the record. We met in her office at 7 before the site woke up. What's going on? She asked, closing the door. I need to disclose a potential conflict of interest. She sat down slowly. I'm listening. I laid it out. Clinically. Professionally. Galen Pryce from Tremont Industries had been having a relationship with my fiancée. My fiancée had knowledge of our project details, vendor lists, and budget ranges. While I had no direct evidence of information sharing, the timeline and nature of their relationship raised concerns about potential conflicts. Ruth listened without interrupting. When I finished, she sat back in her chair. Can you prove any of this? She asked. I can prove the relationship. I have photos, messages, location data. I can prove Mira had access to project information through shared accounts and conversations. What I can't prove is whether she actually shared anything with him. But you suspect she did. Yes. And you're telling me this because if it comes out later, and I knew about it but didn't disclose, we're both liable. You for not reporting. Me for concealing. She rubbed her face. You realize what this means, right? I have to pull Tremont from consideration. I have to report this up the chain. There's going to be an investigation, and Galen Pryce's career is probably over. I understand. Do you? Because this isn't just about your relationship. This impacts his livelihood, his reputation, everything. He made choices. I'm just documenting consequences. Ruth studied me with an expression I couldn't quite read. Not disapproval, not quite approval either. Something in between. You've changed, she said finally, since you got here. You used to be the guy who kept his head down and avoided drama. I still am. I'm just better at recognizing when drama's unavoidable. That's not what I mean. You're colder, harder. Like you've decided something about how the world works and you're done pretending otherwise. Is that a problem? No, just an observation. She stood up. I'll make the calls today. Expect a visit from corporate compliance within the week. They'll want statements, documentation, everything you have. I'm ready. I believe you. I left her office feeling like I'd just pulled a pin from a grenade. Thursday afternoon, my phone rang. Unknown number. Hello? Calder, it's Galen. We need to talk. About? I think you know. His voice was tight, stripped of charm. What did you tell Ruth? I disclosed a conflict of interest. Standard procedure. Standard procedure? You just tanked my entire company's bid over a personal issue. The personal issue created the conflict. This is insane. You're ruining my career because you're angry about your relationship falling apart. Your relationship with my fiancé created the conflict, not my anger. We can fix this. Just call Ruth back. Tell her you were mistaken, that you overreacted. I wasn't mistaken. Calder, listen to me. No, you listen. You came into my project. You tried to leverage a relationship with my fiancé to gain advantage. You used her. You used me, and you thought you were clever enough to hide it. But you weren't, and now there are consequences. I never used anyone. Mira and I. Save it. I don't care about your version of events. I care about documentation, and I have plenty. He was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke again, his voice was different, lower, dangerous. You don't know who you're going against, he said. I know exactly who I'm going against. A sales executive with an ethics problem and an overinflated sense of his own importance. I will bury you. Good luck. I hung up. My hands were shaking, not from fear but from adrenaline, from the razor-sharp clarity of knowing I'd just crossed a line that couldn't be uncrossed. Friday morning, Mira called me 17 times. I answered on the 18th. What did you do? She screamed before I could say hello. I did my job. You reported Galen. You're destroying his career. No. His choices destroyed his career. I just documented them. This is insane. You're being vindictive and petty and… Am I? Because from where I'm sitting, I'm protecting my employer from a compliance nightmare. Everything I did was legal, professional, and necessary. You don't care about compliance. You care about hurting us. There is no us, Mira. There's you and Galen, and whatever happens to either of you is a direct result of your own decisions. I hate you. That's fine. I'm going to tell everyone what you did. I'm going to make sure everyone knows how controlling and manipulative you are. Go ahead. I have screenshots of every message you sent, timestamps, location data, the name of the hotel where you stayed with him, credit card receipts for dinners I didn't eat. If you want to go public, we can go very public. Silence. Then, quietly, what do you want from me? Nothing. I want nothing from you. That's the point. So this is it? This is how we end? This is how you ended it. I'm just finishing what you started. She hung up. I sat in my empty house and waited for the next piece to fall. It fell Saturday morning. Tremont Industries suspended Galen pending investigation. I saw the email from their corporate counsel to Ruth. Standard notification, professional courtesy, confirming receipt of concerns and commitment to transparency. Sunday night, I drove past the Bridgewater Inn. Galen's Tesla was parked outside. I didn't stop. I didn't confront him. I just drove past, noted the time and location, and went home. Monday, corporate compliance arrived. 2 investigators in identical suits. They interviewed me for 4 hours, asked the same questions 17 different ways, reviewed my documentation, cross-referenced dates and details. When they finished, the lead investigator, a woman named Patricia with sharp eyes and zero warmth, said, "Your documentation is unusually thorough. I'm detail-oriented. You're more than that. Most people in your situation would be emotional, impulsive. You're neither. I work in logistics. Documentation is my job. Still, this level of organization suggests premeditation. It suggests responsibility." She studied me. "Did you enjoy this? Building this case?" "No. I don't believe you." "That's your prerogative." She packed up her files. "We'll be in touch." They left. Ruth found me in my office 30 minutes later. "How'd it go?" she asked. "They think I'm too calm." "Are you?" "Probably." "Calder, I need to ask you something and I need an honest answer." "Okay." "Did you do this for the right reasons? Or did you do this because you wanted revenge?" I thought about that. Really thought about it. "Both," I said finally. "I did it to protect the project, but I'm not going to pretend I didn't enjoy watching them panic." Ruth nodded slowly. "At least you're honest." "Is that a problem?" "No, just be careful, because right now you're the victim. But if people start thinking you engineered this out of spite, that narrative changes fast." "I understand." "Do you?" "Because I've seen people lose themselves in situations like this. They get so focused on punishment that they forget why they started." "I haven't forgotten." "Good. Because you're a good employee, Calder. Don't let this turn you into someone else." She left. I sat in my office thinking about identity and transformation and the difference between becoming someone else and finally becoming yourself. Tuesday evening, my doorbell rang. I looked through the peephole. Galen. I opened the door but didn't step aside. What do you want? He looked terrible. Unshaved, eyes red, suit wrinkled, nothing like the polished salesman from before. I need you to tell them the truth, he said. I did. No. You told them a version of events designed to destroy me. You made it sound like I was some kind of corporate spy when all I did was care about someone. You cared about someone while bidding on contracts she had access to information about. That's called a conflict of interest. I never asked Mira for information. That's not what matters. The appearance is enough. So that's it? My career ends because of appearances? Your career ends because you made choices without considering consequences. Welcome to reality. He stepped closer, close enough that I could smell coffee and desperation. You think you've won, he said quietly. You think you've destroyed me and taken some kind of moral high ground. But you haven't. You've just shown everyone who you really are. And who's that? A small, petty man who couldn't handle his relationship falling apart. So you weaponized your employer and ruined someone's life out of spite. If that's what you need to believe. I could take you apart right now. His hands were shaking. Nobody would blame me. Yes, they would, and you'd lose whatever's left of your reputation. So go ahead. Take your swing. Prove my point. He stared at me, fists clenched, jaw tight. For a long moment I thought he actually might do it. Then he stepped back. You're not worth it, he said. Probably not. He walked to his car, but before getting in, he turned back. Mira loved you, you know. Before all this, she really did. No, I said. She loved what she thought I was. There's a difference. He drove away. I closed the door and locked it, and I felt absolutely nothing. Wednesday morning, Soren called with news. Mira signed the separation agreement, he said. No contest, no demands. She just wants it over. That was fast. She doesn't have leverage, and I think she realizes fighting would just make everything public. He paused. There's something else. Tremont Industries terminated Galen yesterday. No severance, immediate separation. The investigation found multiple policy violations. What kind? Unreported conflicts, falsified expense reports, using personal relationships to gain competitive intelligence. It's enough for criminal referral if your company wants to push it. Will they? Probably not. Corporate usually settles these things quietly. But Galen's done in this industry. Word spreads. I absorbed that. So it's over. Legally? Almost? Practically? Yes. You won, Calder. Congratulations. But he didn't sound congratulatory. He sounded cautious. What is it? I asked. Just, are you okay? Because you sound different. Like you're operating on some other frequency now. I'm fine. That's what worries me. People who are actually fine don't sound like they're reading from a script. Maybe I'm just tired. Maybe. Or maybe you've decided winning is more important than anything else, and that's a dangerous place to be. Thanks for the psychology degree, Soren. I'm serious. Don't let this change you permanently. Maybe change is good. Not this kind. He hung up. I sat in my empty office. Ruth had given me the rest of the week off after the investigation wrapped, and thought about change and identity and the person I used to be versus the person I'd become. The person I used to be would have tried to save the relationship, would have forgiven, would have believed in second chances. That person was gone. Thursday afternoon, I drove to Hollis's shop. He was restocking shelves when I walked in, arranging old books by some system only he understood. Calder, he said without turning around. Heard you've been busy. News travels fast. Always does in small towns, especially when it involves Tremont Industries getting blacklisted and sales executives losing jobs. He turned to face me. You satisfied? I'm resolved. That's not the same thing. No, it's not. Hollis wiped his hands on his apron. You know what I said before? About people showing you who they are when they think nobody's watching? I remember. Well, you showed everyone who you are. Question is, are you happy with what they saw? I thought about that. I showed them someone who doesn't accept being used, someone who understands consequences, someone who fights back. You showed them someone who burns bridges completely, who doesn't forgive, who turns pain into precision. Hollis leaned against the counter, not saying that's wrong, just saying it's permanent. You can't unbecome that person. Maybe I don't want to. Maybe not. But make sure you understand the cost, because people who don't forgive also don't get forgiven, and that's a lonely way to live. I left without buying anything. Friday, I went back to work. Ruth had a new project lined up, expansion phase 2, bigger scope, more responsibility. We spent the morning reviewing timelines and logistics. Around lunch, she asked, "You staying in Millbrook?" Planning on it. Why? Just curious. Some people use jobs like this as stepping stones. You seem like you might actually stay. I like it here. It's quiet. Quiet's good, until it's not. She smiled slightly. You ever think about what happens next, after all this settles? Not really. You should, because revenge is satisfying, but it's not sustainable. Eventually you need something else to focus on. Like what? Like building instead of burning. Like creating something that matters more than winning. I nodded but didn't respond. That afternoon, my phone buzzed with a message from an unknown number. I almost deleted it without reading. Then, curiosity won. I hope you're proud of yourself. Mira. I stared at the screen for a long moment, then typed, I am. Her response came immediately. You destroyed everything. No, you did. I just documented it. I'll never forgive you for this. I don't need your forgiveness. I never did. She didn't respond. I blocked the number. Saturday morning, I drove to the Bridgewater Inn. Not to confront anyone. Not to gather evidence. Just to see. The Tesla was gone. The parking lot was empty except for a family loading luggage into a minivan and a couple arguing near the entrance about directions. Life moving forward. Indifferent to everything that had happened here. I drove to the work site and parked near the perimeter fence. Construction crews were already setting up for Monday. Concrete trucks, material deliveries, the organized chaos of building something real. Ruth found me there 20 minutes later. What are you doing here? She asked. Thinking. About? Whether winning actually feels different than losing. She considered that. And does it? Not really. It's just quieter. That's because revenge is a zero-sum game. You don't gain anything. You just make sure the other person loses. Maybe that's enough. For now. But eventually, you'll need more than that. I didn't argue, because maybe she was right. Sunday evening, Soren called one last time. Final paperwork's filed, he said. 6 months and you're legally single. Assets are divided. Everything's clean. Thanks. You sound terrible. I'm fine. No, you're not. You're hollow. Like you spent so much energy on this that you forgot what comes after. What does come after? Life. Normal, boring, everyday life where you rebuild instead of destroy. I'll get there. Will you? Because I'm not sure you remember how. He hung up. I sat in my rental house, bare walls, cracked coffee cup, second-hand furniture, and realized he was right. I'd won, completely, absolutely. Mira was gone. Galen's career was over. The project was secure. My assets were protected. But sitting in that empty house, surrounded by victory, I felt nothing except the cold satisfaction of the equation solved correctly. And maybe that was enough. Maybe that was all revenge ever gave you. Monday morning, corporate called. The investigation was officially closed. No further action required. Tremont Industries had been removed from all vendor lists indefinitely. Galen Pryce had been terminated. Clean break. Professional resolution. Ruth stopped by my office with coffee. You did it, she said. You protected the project, documented everything properly, handled it by the book. That was the goal. So why do you look like you lost? I don't. Yes, you do. You look like someone who won a battle but doesn't remember why they were fighting. I didn't answer. She set the coffee down and left. I spent the rest of the day reviewing schedules and budgets and timelines, the safe, predictable work of building something real. That evening, I drove through town, past Hollis's shop, past the Bridgewater Inn, past the diner where Tremont's team had pitched their failed bid, past all the places where this story had unfolded, and I realized something fundamental. I'd turned myself into exactly what I needed to be to survive this: controlled, strategic, ruthless when necessary. But Soren was right. You can't unbecome that person. This is who I am now, someone who doesn't forgive, someone who documents consequences, someone who understands that winning isn't about feeling good, it's about making sure the other person loses completely. And sitting in my car, watching Millbrook's streetlights flicker on one by one, I understood that this was the real cost of victory. Not guilt, not regret, just the cold, permanent knowledge that I'd crossed a line I could never uncross, and I was fine with that, completely fine.